I'm going to be answering or responding to your assumptions about me, as well as answering some questions. I put up a little Q&A on Instagram. I got so many questions about like books and movies and aesthetic and cottagecore, and so I'm super excited. So let's just get started. I'm gonna start with assumptions for me, and then we'll move on to questions, and then Jared questions. So let's start with the assumptions. You've always been into / interested in fashion and dressing up. That is 100% true. I used to love playing dress up as a kid. My mom has these old home videos of me running around the house dancing to Michael Jackson in the weirdest outfit creations I could think of as like a 5-year-old. So yes, that is 100% true. Roses are your favorite flowers. That's actually not true. My favorite flowers would be baby's breath, which a lot of people always think of as just kind of like a side flower to put around the main flowers, but I love it. I think it's so beautiful, just small white flowers, and I love them so much. So yeah, those are my favorite. You're an introvert. 1000% yes. I gain all of my energy from being alone by myself, and I spend all my energy when I'm with other people. Your favorite time period is Edwardian. That is partially true. I can't choose between Edwardian, Victorian, and Regency. They are all my favorite. I really can't choose. You are a grown-up Anne Shirley in real life. That is the absolute sweetest compliment. Thank you so much. I look up to Anne so much. She's one of my absolutely favorite literary characters, so that's the absolute nicest thing to say. Thank you. I aspire to be more like her, so that's the nicest thing to say. You're naturally a positive and happy person. I would say I try to respond to circumstances and experiences with a positive outlook and perspective, but it does take work. I'm not just naturally super positive and happy about everything, and people who are, I wish I could be more like them, but it definitely does take work. So I don't know if I would say that I'm naturally very happy and positive, because I have to work at it every single day. You got married young. I got married a month away from being 24 years old, so you can decide if that's young or not. You're naturally an introvert, but push yourself to be extroverted. So the introvert, yes, but I don't push myself to be extroverted. I talk in my YouTube videos like I'm talking to you as a friend, but when I'm around a big group of people, no, I am the observer, the quiet observer. I don't try to interject myself or my thoughts. I'm much happier just listening and observing. You were always the quiet kid in school. Yes, I was partially homeschooled, but I did go to public school for junior high, part of elementary school and high school, and yes, I was very quiet and I didn't actually have friends most of my time in school. You taught yourself filming. That is partially true. I watched so many YouTube videos, but I did attend a few workshops by some of my favorite videographers here in Utah. So I learned from them for a few hours, and then I went home and practiced what I learned, but I mostly did teach myself, but it has taken years and years, so it's not something I just learned overnight. You've changed a lot in the last year. Yes, that is so true. The past year before this one was probably one of the hardest years of my life. Yes, it was the hardest year, and that's when I discovered classic literature, cottagecore, and honestly those two things truly changed my life. I discovered slow living and the idea that less is more, and something about Jane Austen and the Brontes, and just living peacefully, kind of not craving the hustle of the life that I was kind of trying to live before. Yeah, it completely changed everything about me. So if you go back and watch my older videos or go back on my Instagram and go further back, yeah, I will definitely seem like a different person. And I think that's such a great thing. It's so good for us to grow and change, and I would hope that I will change a lot in the next year as well. You are an Aquarius or Pisces or Virgo. I'm an Aquarius. So many people always say, are you an Aquarius? And I never know how you know, because I'm not really into astrology or signs or anything. I don't know if I act like an Aquarius or not, but yes, I'm an Aquarius. You love England. Yes, I love it so much. It's my dream place to live. I love the English countryside. It's where my heart feels most at home. So that is 100% true. You like to live an organized but spontaneous life. That is also so true because I love planning and making to-do lists and making goals, setting goals, but at the same time, I'm so down to be spontaneous. Like one time, these flights to Bali, Indonesia were on sale and we just booked them without even thinking about anything else. And so yes, I like to be organized, but also I'm so down to do anything at any time. Unless it's going to a party or something like that. I need to sometimes mentally prepare to be around so many people. But other than that, then yes, I love to be spontaneous. You have always been the creative one, like out of my family. My sisters are all extremely creative. I think it's just like, in my family, we're all really creative. One of my sisters loves acting and screenwriting. The other one loves illustration, and the other one also loves filming and YouTube. We're all kind of creative. You definitely enjoy the little things in life, no matter how small. Yes, that is true. I took my dog outside the other day and we were behind trees and I was waiting for him to go to the bathroom and the sun was setting and I got really sad that I didn't get to get back inside and look out my window every night and watch the sunset. So sometimes I care too much about the little things, but yeah, that is true. You would love to be a teacher, especially with little ones. Love you and your channel. Thank you. I actually went to university for elementary education. That's where I got my bachelor's degree and that's what I got it in. And I actually worked as a kindergarten teacher for a little while. I love the little ones. They are my favorite. So yeah, you are right about that. You are a dog person. Yes. Yes, that is very true. I had a cat when I lived in Virginia and she was amazing. But every other cat that my family had growing up was like this little devil furball and I would always want to cuddle with them and they always just claw at me and scratch me. So I'm definitely a dog person, 1000%. You often imagine your life as if it were a movie. Yes, I do this. It helps me romanticize my life sometimes. I don't know how to explain it, but there's something about telling myself that my life is just as important as that character in a movie and equally as amazing. It just helps me romanticize it and enjoy it more, so yeah. You don't share details on your real life because the internet can be scary. Yes and no. What I share in my YouTube videos is my real life, but there are aspects that I don't share a lot of. For example, Jared, my husband, isn't in a lot of the videos, and I've started doing that more recently. If you go back on my Instagram, you'll know we were constantly doing stories together, but it got to the point where so much of our time together was put on social media and it felt like we didn't have anything that was just for us. And so there are some aspects like that that now I keep more private just because I don't know, it's more meaningful and special to me when it's just shared between the two of us. So there are aspects that I don't share because of that, but what you do see is also my real life. So I think that we all have aesthetic days, or days where we're in bed crying, or days where we're just lazy in front of Netflix, or days where we make a cake and we read a book and we make hot chocolate and it feels so amazing. Like, all of that is real life, even though it's also different from each other. You are actually quieter in real life than online, like not as perky/bubbly. Yes? Yes, that is true, because often when you see me on the camera, I'm so excited to be talking to you like I'm talking to my friend, or I'm so excited, like in my romanticizing life video, I was so excited it was raining. Or there are other videos where I'm so excited that the sun is out and it's snowing, so I get really excited and passionate about it, and that's what you see. But then there are other times when I'm more quiet and I'm more introspective and focusing on my thoughts and my feelings. But I'm still me. It's not that I'm a completely different person on the camera. It's just there are different sides of me, and I think everybody is like that. There are gonna be times when you're super excited and outgoing and bubbly, like when you see your friends, because that's how I feel every time that I'm making a video with you. But then there are times when I'm just, you know, not feeling so well, or I am just not as excited, and I think that's fine. So that is true. You are very funny and love to make jokes in real life. No, I'm not funny at all. My in-laws are all extremely sarcastic and witty and hilarious, and they're always making jokes. And one, it always takes me so long to understand the joke, and two, I can't, I'm not funny, but I wish I was. You would love to write your own book. Actually, this is so not true because I can't write. I am extremely dyslexic, and not only does that affect me being able to spell and have good handwriting, but it also affects me in terms of being able to form coherent sentences, and that's why a lot of the times I feel like I'm not able to accurately express myself. So I would not be able to write a book at all, but I would love to be the inspiration behind a story, because I do come up with stories, but it's hard for me to articulate them. So I'd love to work with a writer, someone who could write, and then we could make a story together. I think that would be amazing. You hold several degrees. No, I only have a bachelor's degree. Well, I have an associate's and a bachelor's, but nothing above my bachelor's. You love babies. No, actually, I do not love babies. I love toddlers when they're able to like play and have fun, but babies, I'm always worried that I'm gonna do something wrong, or I don't know, like I'm okay with holding them if the mother is nearby, but I definitely prefer toddlers, or kindergarten age is my absolute favorite. They're so fun. I could spend all day with kindergartners and be best friends with every single one of them. You only began to like to read recently. Yes, well, if you consider 3 years ago recent, yeah, it was 3 years ago. We were in Switzerland celebrating the new year, and I was setting my goals, and one of them was to read one book every month, because prior to that I wasn't reading at all, but I really wanted to. So then we went to Seoul, South Korea, and while we were there we spent a lot of time riding on subways, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start an audiobook. That's part of my goal. I'm gonna start listening to an audiobook, and I did, and I absolutely loved it. It completely changed reading for me, because prior to that I was just reading physical books. But like I said, I struggle with dyslexia, and sometimes I would read multiple sentences over and over and not really understand what was happening, but being able to listen to it and be told the story, I instantly fell in love again with books and the stories. So yes, 3 years ago, absolutely changed my life on a subway in Korea. Fell back in love with reading. You love fall the best. Yes, this is 100% true. I feel most myself during fall, but spring is a close second. You used to hate historical or old things. That is not true. I have always loved history. Growing up, my dad, he was working towards becoming a history teacher. He loved history. And then I ended up going to a private school where their huge focus was history. I love it. I've always loved it. And I remember being younger, reading stories about American Girl dolls and all of their different cultures and different time periods that they lived in. So I have always loved history. It's always been a huge part of my life. And like I shared on Instagram the other day, I dressed up as Rose from Titanic for Halloween when I was like 7. So yes, I've always loved history. You could spend hours frolicking in cottagecore valleys. Yes, I could spend all day around flowers and nature. I was actually Googling pictures of Germany and different hikes to go on, because I'm vicariously living through Google Maps and photos, because I wish I could be traveling right now. Anyway, so yesterday I saw this picture of this beautiful lake surrounded by these mountains, and I started crying because nature just truly makes me so happy. I feel so myself and just so happy surrounded by it. So yes, I could definitely spend all day frolicking in valleys. You're hungry for knowledge and a very curious person. Yes, that is very true. I love to research. Back during October, I went down this crazy rabbit hole of trying to find all this information about vampires and Romania and like how it all started and the history and stories. So yes, I do love to learn. You secretly want to be a brunette. No, that is so not true. My hair is naturally brown, you can see, and I have been naturally brunette before and I don't like it. I love being like red, strawberry blonde, blonde. That's when I feel most myself. Your daily life isn't as cottagecore, but more mainstream. I think, like, I don't live in a cottage, and I do just live in an apartment, and I do have to just go to the grocery store and do regular non-cottagecore activities. I think that's totally normal to have an aesthetic, which is like a style and kind of like a feeling, but my whole life can't just be cottagecore. It's something that I love, and it's an interest, and it's a style that makes me feel myself, but I definitely have days where I spend all day editing and I'm just wearing sweats and I don't curl my hair, and I think that's totally normal. So yes, that is true. You aren't always reading, but when you are, you binge read. That's actually not true. I actually do read every single day, and I actually struggle with binge reading. Unless it's kind of towards the end of the story that I'm really invested in, I'll usually binge read the end of it. But sometimes it's hard for me to focus on reading for so long, so I'm not one of those people that can easily read one book in one day. I don't really binge read. You prefer classic books than new modern books? Not true. I love classics, but I also love books that are written now, but that take place back in the Edwardian, Regency, or Victorian period. There's a recent author that I love. Her name is Mimi Matthews, and she writes amazing Victorian and Regency proper romances. I also love books like Bridgerton, so I love books that are written now but take place back then. But it is true that I would rather read a historical fiction novel than a contemporary novel. Okay, so I think those are gonna be all for the assumptions. There were a lot more, but I still wanna move on to questions. Were you always so aesthetic? I mean this in the best way possible. I love your vids. Thank you so much. That's so nice to say. No, I wasn't always this aesthetic, but that's only because I only discovered cottagecore and even aesthetics in general, like dark academia, light academia, when I got on TikTok last January, March-ish. I got on because of COVID. Seemed like everybody was getting on TikTok, and that's when I started to discover what these aesthetics were. And if you don't know what it is, aesthetic is basically just another word for style or theme, but it doesn't just relate to clothing. It can relate to types of movies that you watch or types of interior design. Just kind of like a overall style of living, I guess you could say. But some people don't take it so far as living. It's just a type of clothing that they wear. But for me, as soon as I discovered cottagecore, it just felt like discovering a part of me. Felt like coming home, truly. Because I've always told Jared that my dream is to live in a cottage, like in The Holiday, or in a hobbit hole, like in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, like Bilbo lives. But that never really seemed realistic. And then when I started discovering cottagecore, I realized that that type of living is actually something I can do, and I don't have to be living in a cottage in order to be living like that. And so that's when I started kind of changing up the interior design and changing up my clothing, and I felt more like I was living in my own little cottage story, and it made me so happy. So yeah, I definitely haven't always lived this way. It wasn't until I discovered cottagecore and aesthetics in general that I realized that I can live however I want. And yeah, and it was something I never knew that I was missing until I discovered it, which I feel like is how it is with a lot of things. You discover a new food and you were like, how did I live without this before? Or you discover your soulmate, or you discover your favorite type of book or genre or author, and it's just something you never knew you were missing until you discovered it. What's your Hogwarts house? I am 1000% a Hufflepuff. I've taken the test or the quiz so many times, and every time I get Hufflepuff. But my secondary house is actually Slytherin. So I'm mostly Hufflepuff, and then next would be Slytherin, and then Ravenclaw, and then Gryffindor. The quiz said that because I'm very motivated and I will do kind of anything to get where I want to go, that I'm more like a Slytherin than a Ravenclaw. So yeah, there you have it. That's my Hogwarts house. What is your favorite song? Oh, I love this question. My favorite song is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. This song has gotten me through so many difficult times in life, and it's a happy place for me to go when I need to pick me up in the form of a song. What's a goal you've been working towards achieving this year? Oh, there are so many different types of goals, like personal goals, business goals. Something that me and my husband have been working on for a little while is paying off my student debt, which isn't romantic or aesthetic or anything, but yeah, it's something that I'm very actively working on. Have a lot of student debt, because I couldn't afford to go to college when I went, and I had to get student loans. So that is something I'm working on. Who films you in your videos? I would say 95% of the shots are me just setting up my camera on the tripod and filming myself. And then the other 5% would be my lovely husband, Jared. He will get shots of me. If there's any movement of the camera, then he is moving it. But if the camera is not moving, then it's usually just my tripod. What is your job aside from YouTube? I got so many questions asking this. What is my regular job? What do I do for work? So I teach English to kids in China, and I have loved doing this. It's been a great way to work from home, do it online through their platform, and I'm technically an independent contractor. So I'm not an employee for them, I contract out for them. I get to choose my hours. I can work 40 or 50 or 60 hours in a week, or I can work 5 hours, which is such a blessing that I get to choose. Once I started making some money from YouTube and viewing it as an actual possible future job, I rearranged my schedule a bit and I started working only on the weekends, and that did include some Sundays sometimes. So I'll work 10 or 12-hour days on Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, and I'll start work around 6 or 6:30 p.m. and finish around 7 a.m. and then that gives me time to film and edit during the week, because a typical YouTube video will take me 2 to 3 days to film and then 2 to 3 days to edit, and then I spend 2 to 3 days working full-time every day for the next few days, and then I go back to filming. So that's kind of my work schedule and what I do for work besides YouTube. But thank you to everyone who has joined Honeywood Hollow, which is my Patreon. All of you over there are making it so that I'm so close to being able to quit teaching and do YouTube and content creation full-time, which is amazing. And I don't even know like how that is even happening to me, because it's always been just such a far-off dream. So even just saying that is crazy. But yes, so thank you to all my patrons. You are all absolutely amazing. Are you still planning on adopting a child? Yes. So if you've been following me for a long time, we announced that we would be adopting a couple years ago, and then COVID and deciding to pay off student debt first and all of that just got in the way, and we decided to completely put it on pause for a little while. But we will be adopting first before having a biological child. That is still the plan. It's just not currently in action. What do you do on a bad mental health day or a day that you feel sad for no reason? Oh. Okay, something that I did yesterday, because I was having a bit of a bad mental health day yesterday. I was full of anxiety, but I got on YouTube and I looked up these old music videos and songs that me and my sisters used to listen to years ago during one of the best summers of my life. And that nostalgia, I was like crying with laughter, and I was just like happy tears. I felt so happy. So for me personally, nostalgia is something that can make me instantly happy. Something from my childhood or just anything from the past that has brought me happiness, going back to that, visiting it again, just makes me feel so good inside. Also, I have started doing guided meditations. I use Headspace, which is an app, but you can also find free Headspace videos on YouTube or just any guided meditation. So I'll look up whatever I'm dealing with. If I'm feeling extremely anxious, I'll look up a guided meditation for letting go of anxiety. And then another thing is that I've only recently gotten into is playing this game on my iPad. It's called Genshin Impact. You probably saw me playing it in my Romanticizing Your Life video. I got a few questions about what game I was playing. It's, to me, like the perfect cottagecore game because it takes place in this little town that reminds me of like a little town in Germany, and then there are mountains surrounding it and lakes and butterflies and trees with fruit on them, and it's just beautiful. And I've found that being completely immersed in the story of the game and what I'm doing completely kind of pulls me out of my own head and what's going on in there. It's different for me than reading, because reading I can sometimes get distracted. If I'm having a really bad mental health day, it's even hard for me to focus on a book. But playing the game pulls me out completely because there's so much going on and it's more fast-paced, I guess, than a book. And I've never really played games in my life. I only started playing this a few weeks ago, but I have noticed that it's really helped me. Or I will just go back and visit a happy movie or TV show. Like I said, I wasn't having the best mental health day recently, and I watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is one of my comfort movies. I love it so much. So yeah, just things like that. Or honestly, just taking a nap. If there's no other way to escape my mind, I will try to just go to sleep and give myself some time to rest. Okay, that was a really long answer. What state do you live in? Do you like it or are you considering to move? I live in Utah here in the US. It's absolutely amazing. I'm gonna do a video maybe this summer about how diverse it is. You can drive 4 hours in any direction. You can be at the salt flats, which are extremely flat as the name suggests, or you can go to the sand dunes, or you can go up to the mountains, and there's like always snow on them even during the summer. So it's extremely diverse. I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful, but we are wanting to move somewhere soon, not within the US though, but that is something that is pretty far off in the future. So I'll talk about it once it gets closer. If you could live in any movie, what would it be? I love this question. Okay. I think I definitely have to say the Shire in The Hobbit, or honestly anywhere in Middle Earth, is absolutely beautiful. Yes, I would choose the Shire for sure. How did you discover your love for nature? The fact that I was homeschooled. My mom really wanted us to not be in a classroom all day. She wanted us to be outside and playing, learning through play, as well as learning. Obviously, we did study inside, but we lived on a few acres. We had horses and chickens, and it was just so amazing that I got to be outside during the day when other kids were in a classroom. And I remember we got to learn about tadpoles and how they were created, and I got to see like frogs in the process of creating them. I don't know, I got to see nature very firsthand and up close and personal, and I got to go feed my horses day and night and just be out there, and I feel like that really instilled in me a love for all things outdoors and nature, and we got to grow flowers and work in the garden, and I feel like it just raised me the way that I am today. So thanks, Mom. What do your bookshelves look like? How do you organize all the books you get? I laugh because I don't actually have a bookshelf. My books, as you can see right here, these books I moved, they were just over there by my desk. There are books over there in the corner. There are books right here. Because I really want like a nice vintage one, and I've been searching Facebook Marketplace for one forever, and I just haven't found any that are in my price range yet. I'm one of those people that I would rather not have the thing that I want until I can find the perfect version of it, which is not the best because I could have been having them on a bookshelf this whole time. But yeah, I really should just make my own. So they just kind of chill all around inside, and they don't really have a set place, which is sad, but hopefully we'll fix that soon. How long have you and Jared been married? We actually just celebrated our 5th year anniversary, so it's been 5 years, which is crazy to me. Do you always dress up all vintage and aesthetic, or just when you're filming? I do obviously dress up nice when I'm filming, and then if we're going anywhere, if we're going on a date or going out anywhere, then I will also dress up. But if I'm just staying home and I'm having an editing day or I'm not doing anything, then I'll definitely just be in sweats. So yeah, it depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going and what the occasion is. What is the book who made you a reader? How you began to read? Okay, so I was in Kenya and I was getting ready to come home, and one of the other people that I was there with, they handed me a book and they said, here, you can have this. I read it on the plane over here. You're about to leave, so you know, if you want to read it on the plane home, go for it. And I was like, oh, thanks. And I looked at it, and I hadn't read a book in years, so I just kind of put it in my bag, flew home, and I didn't even read it. And then we were traveling months later, and I found the book again. And I decided that would be the book that I start my goal of reading 1 book a month. So when we were in Switzerland, and then when we went to South Korea, I decided to start reading it. And the book was The Girl on the Train, I think her name is Paula Hawkins. That was the book. It's a domestic thriller. It's not really what I'm into nowadays, because the more I read, the more I realize what type of genre and style of writing I like. But at the time, that one sucked me in. It was so fast-paced, and I loved the psychological aspect of it. So yes, that was the book that got me back into reading. How does Jared feel about the flowery bed cover? We'll see what he says. I'm gonna go get him.
I don't mind it. I don't have a problem with it, and it's not that girly. It's not like you didn't paint these walls pink or anything, so I mean, that's a plus.
Yeah.
I mean, the new bed you got looks really good too.
Yeah.
As long as it's not like, you know, start putting like cats all over the walls and...
You are able to adapt and you're just content with whatever.
I mean, it'd be cool if we could put like a secret passageway in our new house.
I'm so down with that.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
like
as long as I get that.
Like a secret bookshelf or something that you can like slide.
Secret bookshelf?
Yeah.
Which leads to a slide.
And then it leads to a library.
Oh my gosh.
like a Beauty and the
That'd
Beast
be cool.
library.
How do you get out though?
Well, then there's like a spiral staircase that takes them back up.
Back up. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, and then the last question is probably the question that I get asked on like every morning routine, evening routine, and it's, you and your husband don't sleep together.
Well.
So first, let's define what does sleep together mean. It means going to sleep in the same bed.
Going to sleep in the same bed.
Together.
Yeah.
Next to each other.
That's what we're talking about, not anything else. So basically, I have my own bed in another room because I snore a lot in this very dry climate, and Desiree...
And you also do something, you know...
Sometimes I like move my arms around in my sleep, I don't know.
Sometimes he goes like this with his arms, or he touches his face and then he elbows me in the process.
Okay, well you elbow me too.
But you elbow me more.
Whatever. Yeah, I typically sleep in my own bed in another room.
It's like not the status
It's like
quo.
we do everything except actually sleep physically next to each other.
We work from home together, we see each other all throughout the day, we have breakfast together every morning, we eat dinner, we go grocery shopping together, we run errands together, we play with D'Artagnan, go to the mountains, like we do everything together, like you said,
movies,
except sleep
cuddles
together.
Yep. And then once we're really starting to fall asleep,
then you head off to your bed, and we each get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Because we noticed that we would just wake up feeling groggy, and I would say, "Oh, you woke me up 3 or 4 times. I never got into my deep sleep."
You elbowed me 3 or 4 times tonight.
And we have a queen size bed. We don't have a king, but yeah. So that's what we do. It works best for us.
And sometimes we get a little crazy and we're like, man, I miss sleeping next to you, so let's try it again. And we'll sleep next to each other, and then we're like, nope, never again.
Pretty much. Okay, Jared's gone, and I realized that I did miss a few questions that I did want to get to. So here are just a few more. Which movie version of any Jane Austen novel is your favorite? And that is so easy. My favorite is the 2020 adaptation of Emma. It's so perfect in every way, and it's what made me love the book even more. But then the 2005 Pride and Prejudice isn't my favorite adaptation of the book because it's not super accurate, but I love it for what it is. I have watched it probably more than 100 times in my life. It's just so beautiful. So those two are my favorites, but Emma is my #1. So if you haven't watched it yet, I definitely recommend checking it out. It is so beautiful. Even just for the aesthetic, cast is so good. I could go on and on. This question is, who are some other content creators who inspire you? So I'll just name off some of them. I've really been loving Apron Full of Stones for baking videos. I also really love The Cottage Fairy. Rachel Maxey is another one of my favorites. I don't know if I said her last name right. I also love this creator. His name is Ryan Shirley. He does amazing drone footage. Girl in Calico, Isabel Page. Jessica Ville is another one of my favorites for vintage content. There's a Japanese vlogger, I think her channel is called Choki or Choki. Absolutely stunning videos. And then for TikTok, some of the creators that I absolutely love would be Here at the Cottage, Christina Elizabeth Rose, Official Autumn Rose, Yo Adrian, Anna the Adventures. They all make such beautiful videos. I don't want to spend too much time talking about each individual creator, but seriously, go check them all out. They all make the most stunning content. And then for Instagram, I really love following A Clothes Horse, Valentina Hortus, probably not saying that right, Quiet Wilderness, and Your PTASHKA. Underneath, she has her name as Your Fairy Tale Muse. I will link them all down below. Seriously, they're some of the most beautiful accounts. They create art. Every single photo and video is amazing, and I save pretty much everyone so I can go back and rewatch it and relook at them. So I think that's gonna be it for now. There were many more questions, but I don't want this video to be so long, so I think we're gonna end it there. Thank you so much to everyone who asked questions and wrote assumptions. This was so much fun. I didn't get to drink any of my food. I mean, you don't drink food. I didn't get to drink any of my tea or any of my food, so I'm gonna go eat now. And I will see you soon in my next video. Bye, friends!